Hi everybody, this is Lainey at Hilltop Home Place. I'm doing this video because I feel it's important to kind of convey my thoughts of something that just happened local to me, but that I think the gist of it impacts everybody. And that is that things can change in a New York second. Things can change in a second. We always talk on my channel and other channels, lots of channels on YouTube, about preparing, that you never know what's coming, the weather, war, anything with politics, unemployment, things like that. And it all seems important, yet it can seem vague until it happens to you. I've had things in the past I've been able to relay of my own personal experiences, from going through hurricanes and having lights out for 2 weeks, and the fact that it had saved us for me to have food put back. We've weathered ice storms. I've weathered my husband being unemployed, even though he is now on Social Security because he had a massive stroke. Our life changed from one thing to the other, but some of those things rolled out over time. The stroke was quick, but then the economic things and all rolled out over time. Going from short-term disability to Social Security and all, it rolled over time. And so you had a little bit of lead time to kind of figure things out. When a hurricane hits, sometimes you know it's in the Gulf, you have a little time to get ready. And so things like that can kind of have a little bit of a buffer. And then there's other times where things just happen, and they happen quick. And that's what happened to us around here Friday. I'm going to show you some pictures, and I'm going to show you some things right now and describe to you what happened Friday near me. I live about 5.5 miles as a crow flies from where this happened. And I so far am not negatively impacted that I know of, but our area in general, I think, is going to be negatively impacted for a long time. And it's going to be maybe hidden impacts that aren't going to make the news after a few days. So we'll talk about it, and I'm going to show you some pictures of what happened. A local business named Smitty's Supply Incorporated had an explosion, or just a little bit before 1 p.m. on Friday, August 22nd. Smitty's makes oil and lubricant products, and they make things like DEF, and they are a major supplier all across the United States, believe it or not, even though it comes from this small community. And they had an explosion, and then it went from one tank to the next tank to the next. Their DEF facility, everything went up. It was terrible. It was, I don't know, almost a complete and total loss. The only thing I saw on the pictures that seemed to maybe make it were their office facilities that were in the corner of their property. Right next to it is a gas station. I think it made it just fine as well. But the Smitty's campus, their whole complex with all of their tanks and everything to me just looks like a complete and total loss. It was really, really bad. Smitty's Supply has been in business since 1960, and it employs over 450 people in our area. The ironic thing is, I was on my way to that place. I was on my way to that location when it happened. I had decided I wanted to go to the gas station in Arcola, which is attached to that facility, to get me a piece of fish. And so I was going to get a piece of fish and a Coke. We were going to get back on the highway that runs right in front of it, and we were going to go to Amite, Louisiana, and go to the Sonic and get my husband a blast. We were going to get those two things, then we were going to get on the road and run our errands. Well, all I had to do was just get off there, just get off at the exit and run, go get my fish. And I was starving. Like, I was wanting this fish because it was getting near 1 o'clock p.m. and I was hungry. And I saw this cloud in the distance, and it looked like it had rain coming out of it. And it was kind of dark. And I had a squirrel moment, I guess you would say. I had my butterfly moment where I started thinking, I wonder how far that cloud is. I wonder if it's raining in Hammond, Louisiana. That looks more close to Independence, Louisiana. Maybe it's raining in Amite, Louisiana. And I just started thinking about it and passed up the exit. I just passed it up. And I was so mad at myself. I got on the hump of the interstate to where I could see down, where I had passed up the exit. And I told Richard, I said, I passed the exit up. I didn't even get off. I said, oh my gosh. And he said, I wondered what you were doing. I said, I was daydreaming. I saw a cloud. I was daydreaming. So we went 3 miles up. I got off at the next exit, Amite, Louisiana. And when we got off and we looked to the left, this big plume of black smoke was going up into the air. It had just started. And we thought a house must have caught on fire or something. And I kind of always do the sign of the cross and everything. I said, oh, I hope nobody's house is on fire. And then it kept getting bigger and bigger. As we were going down the main drag in Amite, Louisiana, we kept looking at it and it was getting bigger and bigger. And I told my husband, I said, I hope that's not Smitty's. I hope that's not the gas station or Smitty's that's blown up or something. But we started realizing it really could only be that. This was not a house fire. The plume kept getting larger and larger and larger. And we realized that must be what it is. And I told my husband, I realized it real quick. I said, God didn't let me get off at that interstate. And I said, because if I had gotten off at the interstate, the facility is only 1 mile from the exit. If I had gotten off, I would have been driving right into chaos. Nobody ended up getting killed. Nobody in the residential area ended up getting killed or anything. So I'm not saying I would have been hurt or anything, but I would have been driving into pandemonium. People trying to flee the scene of this lubricant refinery thing that was blowing up. And it would not have been a good situation for me. I would have been going into it. And so I, by the grace of God, had a squirrel moment and passed up the exit. So we went north of Amite, Louisiana to the sister gas station of the one that I was going to go to. And they had a direct view from their cash registers to across a few miles to where that was. And I asked them, I said, is y'all's place over there okay? I said, it doesn't look good. And they told me that it wasn't the gas station that had blown up, it was actually Smitty's. And so we all were like, oh, this isn't good. This isn't good at all. So as the day rolled on, we actually our errands took us farther away from the scene, but we started seeing the response from all the fire trucks. We started having state troopers fly by us, everything. It was everything, just any kind of vehicle you could imagine, even just volunteers that put a light on the dashboard. Everybody was rushing that direction. And I just kept praying. Dear Lord, I hope it wasn't an explosion that took people by surprise and killed workers. It ended up being an explosion, but no one was killed. Thank you, Lord. I still am amazed, because looking at the pictures that you're seeing, I'm amazed. Here's a few more I wanted to show you, just to kind of show you the scope of what happened. I took this picture about 6:30 in the evening, 5.5 hours after the fire had started, and it was still raging. I was so surprised that this fire just basically could not get under control. I took this picture about a mile from my house. I was able to be on a hilltop where I could kind of see the base of the fire. This was about 7:30 at night, 7:45, something like that. So going into darkness, it still was raging. It was a big fire. But as I'm talking to you now about all this, it is Sunday. This happened on Friday. So now it's Sunday, and maybe I'm just not on the know about things. I don't know. But I'm not hearing a whole lot of warning from our authorities. A lot of them, they only evacuated 1 mile around the facility. Those people, a lot of them are still at the shelter. They opened a shelter south of the explosion, which is also where all the soot debris landed, a lot of that. And so, not sure how safe that was. But those people, I guess at some point they're kind of escorting them in and out to get important things. Maybe at some point they'll start letting certain ones come back to their homes. That's how quick that happened, though. A lot of these people went to work that day, found out about it while they were at work, could not come home. Just couldn't come home. Other people were at their houses, got knocked on the door by the troopers and all the police that were responding, and told to get out and leave right at that moment. We're walking you out the house. You've got to go. And it was important that they did, because these tanks were exploding one after one. It was bad. It was horrible. And so a lot of people had to just run, and whatever they were dressed in, with whatever they had, grab your purse, grab your wallet, grab your cell phone, and let's go. And so there was no warning. And my area, which is outside of that evacuation zone, we've just been sitting here with no news, really. Nobody's warning us about anything. Nobody's telling us about anything, really. They're saying they're doing some tests with the EPA and all, and some of that is coming back and saying everything's okay. I personally don't feel everything's okay. I feel it's as best as it can be my direction because I'm north of where it happened, but south of where it happened, I'm very worried. I'm very worried about the agricultural industry around us. I'm very worried about what if it was falling on cars. It wasn't just falling on cars, it was falling on everything. The kids' toys that are outside, the slides, the playground equipment at schools. It had to be falling on all the grass. It has to be falling on your mailboxes, everything that you touch. And from what I'm hearing, since it was an oil and lubricant factory, a lot of this stuff is toxic things that were up in the air. It rained during it, so the rain came through those clouds of smoke and sprayed this stuff all over everything, people's cars, everything. And they're telling you not to touch it with your bare hands, but nobody's really being evacuated or anything. It's just like we're just living in it. We're living in the fallout of it. I'm north of it, so I'm not complaining as bad about us. It's the people south of it, south, southwest, southeast. And I know this because we went all in that area today. My husband and I had to go to Covington, Louisiana, and I know if you watch me from way off, you don't know where all this is, but that's southeast of where we live. But we were coming back south of where the explosion was, and we were crossing the bridges of the Tangipahoa River, and you can just see the oil slicks going down the river. If you can just see it going down the river, what all are we not seeing? It's laying on the grass. It's laying on the dirt. It's laying everywhere. And this is kind of cattle country. People have cows here. People have sheep. They have all kinds of things. We go riding so much, my husband and I, that I can specifically know of certain farms right now I'm very concerned about. I'm concerned about their animals drinking the water out of the ponds. I'm concerned about the cattle grazing on the grass. I wanted to suggest that anybody that wants to dig a little deeper in this to find out kind of, when I say I'm fearful, I have reason to be, but one of our locals that lives near me, named Samantha at Starkey Farmstead, she's done a couple of deep dive videos on this explosion, 2 of them, and she goes into a lot of detail about the chemicals that were up in our atmosphere, the foam that was sprayed on these chemicals by the fire departments to put it out, which you have to attempt to put it out. But I had no idea really what was in all that foam that they spray on these fires. And she did a deep dive on it and shows the receipts and shows the information straight off of websites and all. And it's very, very scary. And I think there'll be long-term consequences to this. People woke up Friday morning, it was a beautiful day, no problems. By Friday evening, they might have had just debris covering everything they own. When we talk on these channels about preparing, you can't prepare for everything. In this situation, if say I had been evacuated and not been able to be at my house, I was already on the road, I was gone. I wouldn't have been able to come back home. They would have shut the roads down. So I had my purse, I had Richard, I had his wheelchair. We didn't have any of his medicines. We had no other change of clothes or anything. But we're lucky we got to come home. A lot of people didn't. They ended up just with their purse, their wallet, and nothing else. It's hard to prepare because you could stock up on a lot of food and then you can get run out of your house to go evacuate. So it's hard to prepare. But you really, no matter, you can't just say, well, it's hard to prepare, so I'm not going to do anything because I don't ever know what's going to happen. You have to kind of prepare for anything so that you'll have hope in everything. And you'll have hope in any situation that comes along. Keep gas in your car as best you can. I used to let it run all the way to empty before I filled up. Now I get really nervous when it gets under half a tank. And if I have the time and it's not storming or anything, I go ahead and fill my tank back up. Because you never know if you're going to be sitting in a long car line. You never know if you're going to have to keep that air conditioner running in your car because you're sitting in a parking lot somewhere because now you can't go back to your house. Keep some money on you. Keep some cash. A lot of times we say keep small bills in case you need it, in case ATMs or convenience stores, credit card things go out and everything during storms. Well, that's true. I mean, that's true. But if all you can do is, put a couple $100 bills in your purse or something, then do that. At least you have something. If you do have to go get a hotel, if you don't want to stay in one of these shelters, I wouldn't. But if you want to stay in a hotel or something, you might need a little something something to go out and eat that night or something. Maybe you can put the hotel on your credit card or debit card or whatever. Your plastic might still be working, is what I'm saying, in certain situations. But you still need a little cash just in case. You might have to get some emergency prescriptions called in. You might have to do something like that. You're going to need some finances to do that outside of your house note, outside of your regular debt bills and your utilities. You're going to need some extra money. It could happen in 2 seconds. I can't sit here and go over every scenario and prepare you for everything, but I can just tell you that things happen so quick. You don't know when things are going to happen. I've actually worried about that facility ever since we moved up here. Not that they run it bad, not that it's dirty, not that it's in any way a big question mark as far as how they're running the place. It's just that it's a oil and lubricant refinery, and all it takes sometimes is a spark for places like that to go up. And I lived through Exxon exploding when I was pregnant with my second child, and my mom lived probably 25 miles away or 30 miles away from Exxon, and we were at her house when it happened, and it rocked the ground under the house. The bricks shook. It was something, and it caused extensive damage in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and everywhere. So I always thought, well, I'm only 5.5 miles or so from this place, just I'm estimating. And I always thought, though it's very much smaller than Exxon, I always thought, we might be awakened one night to a big boom and we might have to flee if that place ever goes up. And it did happen. It didn't happen as I thought about it happening, but it happened. And a lot of people right now are unemployed, over 400 something people in what is not a very congested area. A lot of those people are going to be local to me. A lot of those people are going to come from all the small towns around me, and probably, like most people, live paycheck to paycheck. And something like this is going to rock their world. It's going to rock their world. I feel bad for them. I have kept them in my prayers the last 2 nights, and I really hope that our state agencies can get them some unemployment quickly. Samantha mentions some fundraising already going on her channel. So I was going to direct you to her channel a while ago. I meant to just say it explicitly like that. But go watch those 2 videos if you want to get a lot more information on the backside of this, the side that could roll out over months and years to come for our area. And as always, my heart is with people first, of course. I do love the cows, and I love the farming aspect of our community. But people first. I pray for them to be able to sustain their families. But also, I do have a heart for the agricultural part of our community. Right now, there's not a lot of crops that are left. Most of the corn has already been harvested. I do know that when you do listen to what Sam talks about on her channel, though, with these forever chemicals that could possibly be in the foam that was sprayed on the fire, that could possibly be going down our rivers right now, could be landing in the ponds that these animals drink and the fields where all our crops grow, I do worry. So while right now I don't think it destroyed a whole lot of crops, it could be something that rolls out over months and years. Pray for everybody in the Arcola, Roseland area of South Louisiana, and pray for everybody that's in the path of a lot of the debris that fell from the sky. That would be your Amite area, Independence, Laranger, Tickfall, Louisiana, and the Tangipahoa River that runs through there runs all the way to Lake Pontchartrain, which empties out, and it borders Mandeville, New Orleans, everywhere. So, I don't know how all this stuff gets carried downstream. Who knows where it could all end up. So pray for us, and for yourselves, though, look around you. See what kind of industry you might have around you. Do you live near railroad tracks? Do you live near places where a lot of tanker trucks roll through all the time, or whatever? And just be a pessimist for once and just think to yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen with all these, and how could I be prepared? How could I be prepared? And if you have children, especially, have a plan, even if you have to write it down so that you're not freaking out if something happens. Have a plan that's in your purse or whatever, in your car, in your glove compartment, that says, if so and so happens, this is what I need to do first, second, and third. It might be picking up children. It might be, there's an elementary school right by that place. That the main thing for a lot of people was to go toward the danger, worry about their kids. Then you go away from the danger once you've gotten your child or whatever. It's scary, but you have to think of each situation and kind of know in your mind what you would do. That way you're not deadlocked and panicked when something happens. This is Lainey at Hilltop Home Place. I hope I've kind of went all over with this, but I hope that some of this resonates with you, and I hope that our area just recovers easily. I hope that some of this stuff is not in our soil and affecting our animals and crops and industries and everything for very long. That's my hope. And I'm just going to go with that for right now till I hear otherwise. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day and be safe. Bye-bye.